So these are internal service departments that are general fund and/or cost allocated. That's the next grouping.
And Lanu, we've got Lanu here. And Lanu, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name. I'm so sorry.
Parapilli, the new Parapilli.
Parapilli. Okay, thank you. So we've got technology services, our internal service department. And internal service, all that means is that, just what it says, they're providing a service to other county departments. So primary revenue source is cost allocations. That's, and by definition, they should be fully funded. So this department provides high-quality, innovative, cost-effective technology services to other county departments and to the county commissioners. So staff of 58, they're funded across 2 funds, 0 general fund support, and their personnel budget is $12.1 million, which is roughly 35% of their operating budget, total budget of $34.3 million. And with that, Lanu, I'll let you take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandra. Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners, and Budget Committee members. I'm Linu Parapilli, Director of Technology Services. So some of the major significant changes from our FY24 to FY25. So if you can see under the Technical Services Program, we have significant increases to our software platforms. Our VMware infrastructure licensing is up for renewal in the coming year, and we are expecting an increase of $800,000 or so. And our Microsoft software platform also is increasing by $500,000. So something to note here, it's not because we have added a lot more features, it's because we have been in like a fixed 5-year or 3-year contract, and so our price had not increased. So when it is up for renewal, they will assess at market rate. So that is the main reason. Under Office of the Director, we have a new rent. Technology Services recently moved to DSP building. One of our buildings was affected, taken down as a part of the courthouse construction. So this $268,000 in rents is new from FY25 onwards. Under our telecom program, we have increased budget authority to process pass-through cell phone billing to and from the departments. That amounts to $400,000. So we pay the cell phone bills for the entire county, and then we collect it back from the departments. And since the overall bill has increased, we have done this increase in the budget authority. And it's a pass-through. Under Technical Services and Applications Program, we have a decrease of $400,000 due to the elimination of the general fund subsidy we received last year. So we received a one-time subsidy from the general fund. Our allocation program was brand new, and it is mainly for one of our time entry system in a workforce and all. So from next year to FY25 onwards, we will not be getting that. And our GIS program also saw a reduction in revenues of $120,000, and this is from the decreased property recording fees. Clerk in the morning already mentioned about the decreased property recording. We get a small portion of that towards our GIS program. So when that went down, our GIS revenue was also affected by that. So those are our major changes from the current year.
And Lanu, thank you. We had 2 questions also. Do you have those prepared? Would you like them?
Yes, I have.
All right. The first one was on tab 15, page 3. What is the 80% drop in other revenue sources?
So that particular one is the ARPA grant fund. So these funds were one-time ARPA funds. As we spend them on special projects, those funds are not replaced by other revenue. So we have been using up. We have more to go, but those are the ARPA funds.
Thank you. Tab 5, what determines the $3.3 million drop in beginning fund balance?
So that is mainly due to timing, if I may say so. So Technology Services submitted our proposed budget back in November. So then we are continuously doing projects throughout the current fiscal year. And some of the projects that start, let's say, spring, by the time it goes through procurement or implementation, it can sometimes carry over to the next budget year. It may not finish quite in this year. So when that happens, the unspent funds get added to our starting fund balance via budget amendments, so we can continue the projects in the new budget year. So at the end of the year or at the beginning of the new fiscal year, there would not be that big of a difference in the beginning fund balance.
And if I can add, technology services and facilities that you'll hear from this afternoon, they start our cost allocation process for the entire county. So these two departments, unlike the other departments throughout the county, we ask them to put their budget together in October. So unlike the other departments that have the benefit of additional time to see how their actuals are coming in, technology services and facilities really have to do a lot of estimating. And so what we also give them the opportunity to do is, as the year goes on, we allow them to do a supplemental to rebase. So with all of the other departments throughout the county, we don't allow them to adjust their beginning fund balance. That process is called truing up. And what we want to do is have the departments budget as accurately as possible. And truing up gives a false sense of accuracy because you can't really tell what's really happening. With these two departments, we do allow that because they have to go so much earlier than everyone else. So when Lanu is talking to you about having to estimate and hitting that or missing that mark by quite a bit, she's being very modest because they are truly having to estimate at a very early stage in the process.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee? You got off easy there. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'm Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, which also includes facilities. This is another internal services department that we're going to review now. This department is, as Senator has shared, is 100% funded through cost allocations. So there are 0 general funds. We also have 57.7 employees, FTEs, in this department, and it covers our courier services as well as maintenance and construction for our facilities. Personnel is 48% of the budget with $8 million, and our total operating expense is $16 million, double that. It is equally, I would say, as maintenance and repair, as well as the employees that are providing the services. And let me read a brief description. We provide maintenance and management services to facility housing county departments, which is all general fund paid, performs fire, life, safety, indoor air quality, water quality, indoor lighting standards, building and electrical code inspections. So our significant changes include, in the cost allocations, the team did a full review of those cost allocation methodology impacts. So they went to every single department. They worked with every single structure that we have that the county owns to ensure that we have the proper square footage and that it's appropriately applied to each department through cost allocations. And then in our construction, we are seeing some changes positively in bids that are coming back, because not only do we use our staff for the work, sometimes we have a limited number of staff, 55 FTEs, so we will contract out. And we're seeing those contracts coming in a little bit better than we have in prior years. So we're hoping to see some savings there. And the big news, as you may see when you're on campus, is our green vans versus yellow vans. We've contracted with a new landscaping company, which is called Crystal Greens. A lot of efficiencies there. We like the services that they're able to provide. We feel like we're going to be more efficient with taking care of our grounds, and they are beautiful. So you'll see I saw some tree planting last week. So we lost over 200 trees during that ice storm, and we are starting to get those replanted. Let's see, we had one question on the facilities, and I talked with Jan about that. We did have a reduction in our maintenance budget and material and services, and that's really due to tightening up the belt. We really didn't want to see costs increased for these services during this time, and so the team made just some tightening and reductions. So it's about less than $300,000. Any questions?
Mr. Savas.
I have a question. I guess maybe it's a question for Jeff Jorgensen on that, is that or maybe, Elizabeth can answer that. I do know that in the past, when we didn't have as much financial pressures as we do today, things like the parking lot outside would be pretty well maintained. And it's been a while. It's kind of overdue for whether an overlay or some kind of a seal coat or whatever. But as I watch it kind of fall apart, I'm just concerned is that scheduled? Is that part of the capital plan or O&M plan? And how does that go for the rest of the parking facilities? I do know we're going to be adding some with the construction of the courthouse, but I'm just watching this one kind of crumble.
Well, as he settles, I will share that we have a very thorough preventative maintenance plan for all of our facilities. We call it our PMs. And so, Jeff, you can speak to timing on this? Oh, the microphone.
There's a button at the base. There you go.
If the light
Jeff
comes-
Jorgensen,
there you go.
Facilities Director for Division Director. Yeah, we have a very inclusive, all-inclusive preventive maintenance program. When you're talking about parking lots, we've got several parking lots that basically they're alligatoring and starting to fall apart. We've gotten some repairs over in parking lot H, which is the east parking lot from the PSB. If you remember, the design from the courthouse, it was possibly going to go ahead and actually have quite a bit of work done in there, but we decided to keep that parking lot and keep Kane Road exactly where it is. But we do have projects in the capital projects for list for doing some parking lots. We'll be doing a lot of resealing, restriping. A lot of the striping has gone away too. We're very much aware about that. You're correct.
Okay. Timeline roughly?
But we try to go ahead and get it before the courthouse actually opens.
Okay.
Once the courthouse opens, it's going to be harder to do everything
Yep.
out here.
I know we own a lot of facilities, right? Buildings, properties with parking lots and so forth. So my other question is, what do we think the annual maintenance is on average for this particular building or DSB, for example? I know you can get back to me at a later time, but I would just a thumbnail sketch of what our annual is. I know we have some surprise things like the elevator that probably maybe boosted this year's expenditures, I assume, unless that was a warranty. But just going to get a thumbnail sketch knowing how much the courthouse is going to be invested in from a maintenance standpoint on an annual basis.
We have those numbers. I can get those numbers to you. For the PSB, the DSB, we know exactly what we spend on an annual basis, but like you said, when we have repairs do come up. Elevator's been one of them. As our elevators are getting older, we're having to go ahead and talk about replacing elevators.
Right, okay.
But
Thank
yes,
you.
I can get those numbers to you.
Appreciate all the good work you all do.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thank yous. Are we ready to move on? We have another facilities maintained department or fund. And so facilities is all operated out of Fund 744. And then capital projects is all operated out of one fund we also call 420. So this fund tracks all capital projects and related funding for the county, including new county courthouse project. There are no FTEs in this fund. It does receive general fund support. As I mentioned, all of our facilities we fund and maintain with our general fund dollars. And that's about, new general funds, about 4%. Total operating is $143 million, and that is because we will be receiving the state's match for our new replacement courthouse to this fund and making that milestone payment on May 1st upon occupancy of $130 million out of this fund. So it looks like a lot of dollars are going in. The reason we are not requesting as much general fund, I think last year we had $8 million, this year it's down to $5 million, is because we are also, with our related projects like the parking lot, we're getting reimbursed 50% from the state. So we're recycling those dollars back into this fund so we don't need to ask for new general fund dollars. And so that's the reduction. So We have lists from a lot of departments for capital improvements and projects that go into this fund. And then I did have a question on the capital projects. By delaying the capital projects due to courthouse costs, because we do mention that we've set some aside, will we be addressing and scheduling these projects in some longer-term schedule? And my response to this is a lot of the project requests from departments are typical remodels that do use the general fund, and because we are limiting our general fund to the departments, we've made reductions, then that lowers the discretionary fund. So there's a lot of, say if you want up a new wall, you're refiguring a room or adding desks, those would come out of this fund as well. So we've minimized those available dollars to do those projects. I think I'll pause there. I think I've covered it all.
Excuse me. Ms. Comfort, I just, maybe it's just the season we're in, I've heard a rumor or talk about in the community, I don't see it in this, that there is a $125 million balloon payment on the courthouse that we're not prepared to make in the next year or two. I don't see that reflected. Is that true, or is that not accurate?
I think I heard your question, are we not prepared to make that?
Yeah, or is there one coming, and if it is coming, are we not prepared, or if it is coming, then how is it being made?
There is a milestone payment on the courthouse of $130 million, and that is upon occupancy by our vendor. Say they give us the keys, say you now can have occupancy of our new replacement courthouse. Upon that, the agreement is that we'll give our vendor $130 million. And so that begins then our 30 years of payments. But the $130 million, those funds are from the state of Oregon. That's part of the match. So they're giving us all of the match at one time, and we're able to use those dollars to then make that payment.
So there is no looming cliff with this $130 million payment?
Correct.
Thank you for clarifying.
And that full 130 comes from the state.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And I have one other question
Yes.
on that note. Just to clarify, because we have heard a lot of stuff, it's election season, so things happen, things are said. Is there an excess of $100 million cost overrun on the courthouse, yes or no? And elaborate if you could.
I think your question is, is the cost for the courthouse greater than $130 million?
No, is there a cost overrun of the courthouse for in excess of $100 million?
I'm unclear of the question.
No, the cost of the courthouse went up from 2017 when we first started planning, especially during the pandemic, when the cost of everything went up. So it is true, the cost of the overall project went up because of inflation and the cost of business. But it was not a surprise. We saw it coming, and it was not unexpected. I don't think it was $100 million. It was higher than we originally anticipated, but that was due to inflation and the pandemic.
Right. And I recall that during the pandemic, when we approved this, the cost, and we signed the documents, the cost was $313 million approximate, right? And that has not gone up. It's still $313 million.
That is correct.
Right. So I just want to clarify a misinformation out there that there was a $100 surplus overrun. Not a surplus, but an overrun. And I know there wasn't, but I just want to get it on
Overruns,
record.
we are on time and on budget.
That is correct.
All right, any other questions? No. Elizabeth, you can move forward.
Okay, thank you. Continuing with internal departments, we have a couple of departments that do not have any FTEs, but they do run in several funds. So our next one is non-departmental. It has 4 different funds that it covers, and they are on tab 18, page 2, out of the general fund, then our special grants fund, our debt service fund we mentioned before, and then we also have a debt service fund from general obligation dollars for our improved communication system. That was from 2016. The total from general fund is 2%. It's approximately $5 million, and that goes to our FCC, our faith and full and faith credit, FF&C credit bonds that we have out, and those are paid by general fund. But the total for that fund is to almost $300 million. So this department is non-department, but we do need to approve it, actually takes in our property taxes and the distribution of those said property taxes and manages the debt services. So in this packet, you'll see the debt services that we have for the county, and then I'm going to scroll down to page 8 of tab 18. And so our funding balance, our ending fund balance, which then becomes our beginning fund balance, is up 12%. And as you know, we have a budget of 100%. We typically spend 80 to 95% of that. So with the reduced spending and the reduced transfers of our property taxes, that remains, the funds then remain in non-departmental. We've also seen an interest increase almost by 73%, and that's because those funds stay within this department and then it collects those interests. We do have, we want to note that back in April, the Budget Committee approved to move to the budget presentations, the elected officials' salary adjustments. So in what we've done to have a placeholder for those are sitting in this department. And then upon this board, or this committee's approval, we will then disperse those elected official salary adjustments to the proper departments and divisions. And then they will be presented to the board in June for adoption. And also, I want to note, we had a question on the reserves and the contingency changes. And what we've done is we have reduced those to be more in line with the policy exactly, and the difference has gone to the unappropriated ending fund balance. So in total, those 3 lines remain the same in total, but we've reduced the contingency to policy, and we've reduced the reserves to the policy amount.
All right.
Okay, moving on to miscellaneous pass-through. This is another one of those just interesting departments that we have, but we must have. We have several funds here. We have the general fund, we have our county school fund, we have our transient lodging tax fund in here, and they all serve different purposes, but they're pass-through dollars. So we collect dollars here and then we pass them on. For example, payroll. We do payroll for Water Environment Services and NCPRD and our development agency, and we collect those dollars directly from those special districts. And you'll see in their budgets, it's material and services because they actually contract with the county. And so we utilize this department to pass through those dollars 100%. And then we also have our county school fund, the treasurer department. They manage this fund. We receive funding. We hold it until the state actually gives us a distribution list. And then they tell us how much to distribute to the different school systems in Clackamas County. And then also our transient lodging tax fund comes in here. And then that is dispersed to our tourism. And then there is a small portion of that that goes to finance for managing this account. And just a note on page 7 of tab 19 is that we had a change in the county school fund because we didn't receive instructions from the state for almost 18 months of how much to distribute. So that's why you see a difference in that volume. It's not that it changes every year, it's just we had collected them and then held them longer than we would normally before distributing the county school funds. That's what I have.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, with that said, Gary, where are we at with our schedule?
You are making excellent time today, board members. I recommend you take a short break at this point, 15 minutes perhaps.
Sounds great. All right, we will recess for 15 minutes.